Vets! What was the worst pet name you have ever encountered in your job? This woman walks into my clinic with the most beautiful golden retriever I'd ever seen. Sweet dog, wagging tail, totally normal checkup. But when I looked at the paperwork, I had to read the name 3 times to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. Grandma's Ashes. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke, or maybe a reference to some band I didn't know about. You know how people name their pets weird stuff these days. But then Emily starts explaining, and honestly, it turned into the most insane story I've heard in 15 years of being a vet. So, Emily's grandmother died 3 years ago. Real sweet old lady. Apparently, her dying wish was to be cremated and kept in this fancy urn on the fireplace, so the family could visit her. Pretty normal stuff, right? Well, Emily's uncle thought differently. This guy gets into some massive fight with the family over inheritance money. Emily won't tell me all the details, but it sounded ugly. The uncle was pissed off about not getting enough cash, so he decides to get revenge in the most messed up way possible. He sneaks into the house during the funeral reception and steals Grandma's urn. But here's where it gets really twisted. He doesn't just hide it or throw it away. This psycho takes Grandma's ashes to a garage sale and sells the urn for like $20 to some random stranger. Can you imagine? Someone's buying what they think is just a decorative urn, and it's actually got someone's dead grandmother inside. Emily finds out about this weeks later when she goes to visit Grandma's urn, and it's just gone. The uncle plays dumb at first, but eventually admits what he did. Says he was cleaning house and didn't think anyone would notice. The family goes absolutely ballistic. Obviously, most people would have called the cops or started some huge family war. But Emily, she comes up with this plan that's so petty and brilliant. I couldn't help but respect it. Instead of fighting with the uncle or trying to track down the N, she goes to the animal shelter and adopts this adorable golden retriever puppy and names it Grandma's Ashes. I'm sitting there listening to this thinking she's just being weird and sentimental. But then she explains the real reason, and I'm trying so hard not to laugh, I almost choked on my coffee. Every single day, Emily posts photos of this dog on Facebook and Instagram. But the captions are things like, "Just took Grandma's Ashes for a walk around the block," or "Grandma's Ashes loves playing fetch in the park," or "Grandma's Ashes made a mess in the kitchen again." The uncle sees these posts and loses his mind. He knows exactly what she's doing, and he hates every second of it. But what's he going to do? Complain that she named her dog after his dead mother, the same mother whose actual ashes he sold at a garage sale. It gets even better, though. Emily starts bringing Grandma's ashes to family gatherings. Picture this. She walks into Thanksgiving dinner and shouts across the room, "Has anyone seen Grandma's ashes?" She ran off again. Or, oh no, Grandma's ashes just peed on Aunt Carol's carpet. Some of the distant cousins who didn't know about the urn situation thought she was talking about the actual ashes. Emily tells me one cousin almost fainted when she said, "Grandma's ashes is getting so fat. We might need to put her on a diet." Even Emily's own mom begged her to change the dog's name to something less traumatic. But Emily refused. She said Grandma always told her to stand up for herself, and this was exactly what she was doing. The vet visit was for a routine checkup, but then Emily drops another bomb on me. Apparently, the uncle tried to sue her for emotional distress because of the dog's name. Can you believe that? The guy who sold his dead mother's ashes is trying to sue his niece for naming her dog after Grandma. Emily's lawyer basically laughed the case out of court. Turns out you can't sue someone for giving their pet a weird name, especially when you're the one who created the whole situation by selling cremated remains at a garage sale. But the uncle wasn't done. He started showing up at Emily's house, demanding she change the dog's name. One time he actually called animal control, claiming the dog was being psychologically abused by having a morbid name. The officer who showed up took one look at this happy, healthy golden retriever and told the uncle to stop wasting their time. Emily says she has no plans to back down. I finished the appointment thinking this was probably the pet name I'd remember for the rest of my career. But then, Emily mentioned she's thinking about getting a second dog and naming it Uncle Rick's Dignity, since that's apparently what got buried along with Grandma's real ashes. I told her to bring that one in for shots. The waiting room at the veterinary clinic smelled faintly of antiseptic and peanut butter treats, the usual mix that put most dogs at ease. On a Tuesday afternoon, the glass door opened, and in walked Emily with a golden retriever that turned every head in the room. The dog was stunning. Silky coat, wagging tail, bright eyes that radiated joy. But it wasn't the dog's beauty that made the vet nearly drop his clipboard. It was the name written in bold letters across the intake form. Patient, Grandma's Ashes. The vet blinked twice, certain he was hallucinating. He'd seen plenty of odd names before. Pickle Juice, Sir Fluffy Butt, even a cat called Murder Mittens. But this one stopped him cold. Surely it was some dark joke? Grandma's Ashes? He asked carefully as Emily led the retriever into the exam room. Yes, she replied with a straight face, as if nothing about the name was unusual, and that was the beginning of one of the most insane stories the vet had ever heard in his 15 years of practice. Emily's grandmother had passed away 3 years earlier. A sweet woman, well-loved, whose dying wish was simple. Cremation, her ashes kept in a beautiful urn on the family's fireplace mantel. A quiet way for the family to remember her, but families have a way of unraveling when money enters the picture. Emily explained that her uncle, Rick, had been furious over the inheritance. He'd wanted more than his share, and when he didn't get it, he sought revenge in the most disturbing way imaginable. While the family gathered for the funeral reception, Rick snuck into the house. He didn't steal jewelry or money or even the fine china. He stole the urn, their grandmother, and he didn't just hide it. No, Rick carried it to a garage sale across town and sold it for $20. 20. A stranger walked away with the urn, not realizing it wasn't just a decoration. Emily's voice cracked as she told the vet how she discovered the urn was gone. How her uncle denied it at first, then smugly admitted what he'd done, claiming no one would miss it. Her family was shattered. Most people would have called the police, dragged the courts into it, maybe even disowned him entirely. But Emily, she chose another path. A quieter, pettier, more brilliant revenge. A month later, Emily walked into an animal shelter and locked eyes with a golden retriever puppy. She signed the papers, adopted the pup, and wrote one name on the official documents: Grandma's Ashes. It wasn't just sentimental, it was strategic. Emily began posting photos of the puppy online. A fluffy golden ball of joy digging holes in the backyard, running through the park, chewing on slippers. The captions, however, were where the true genius lay. Just took Grandma's Ashes for a long walk. Grandma's Ashes made a mess in the kitchen again. Grandma's Ashes loves cuddling on the couch. The internet loved it. Her friends thought it was darkly funny. But Rick saw every post and seethed. He knew exactly what she was doing, and there was nothing he could do to stop her. The real spectacle, however, came at family gatherings. Emily would stroll into Thanksgiving dinner with the retriever bounding happily at her side. "Has anyone seen Grandma's Ashes?" she'd call out cheerfully. "She ran off again!" Gasps would ripple through the room. Cousins who hadn't heard the full story nearly fainted, imagining the literal remains of their grandmother lost somewhere in the neighborhood. Aunt Carol once dropped her wineglass when Emily said, "Grandma's Ashes peed on your carpet again." Even Emily's mother begged her to pick another name, something less traumatic. But Emily shook her head. "Grandma always told me to stand up for myself." "This is me standing up!" The vet listened, torn between horror and trying not to laugh out loud. It didn't stop there. Rick grew so furious that he tried suing Emily for emotional distress. He stood before a judge, claiming his niece's pet name was cruel and traumatizing. The case barely lasted 10 minutes before it was laughed out of court. "You can't sue someone for naming their dog something you don't like," the lawyer smirked. "Especially when you're the one who sold your own mother's ashes at a garage sale." The humiliation only deepened Rick's obsession. He began showing up at Emily's house, pounding on the door, demanding she change the dog's name. He even called animal control once, insisting that the retriever was being psychologically abused by its morbid identity. When the officer arrived, he found a happy, healthy golden retriever rolling in the grass with a ball in her mouth. The officer told Rick to stop wasting city resources and left shaking his head. By the time Emily finished her story, the vet was nearly doubled over with laughter. It was, without a doubt, the most unforgettable pet name he'd ever encountered, and the most savage revenge story tucked inside it. As he finished examining Grandma's Ashes, Emily casually dropped one last bombshell. "I'm thinking about adopting another dog," she said, scratching the retriever's ears. "Oh?" the vet asked, already bracing himself. Emily smirked. Yeah, I'm going to name it Uncle Rick's Dignity. The vet laughed so hard he had to excuse himself from the room. That's how Grandma's ashes became a legend in the clinic. Not just a pet name, but a living reminder that sometimes the sweetest revenge doesn't come from fighting. It comes from laughing. Every single day, while the guilty squirm story, my fiance texted, "Wed's off unless you sign a prenup giving me everything." I replied, "Send it over." Then I had my lawyer review it and found she'd been hiding a secret inheritance. The tables turned when I counteroffered with my prenup. I, 31 male, was supposed to marry Rebecca in 6 weeks. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. Everything seemed perfect until last Tuesday, when I got a text while at work. "We need to talk about protecting our future. I want a prenup. Actually, I need a prenup. Wedding's off if you don't sign." I called her immediately. "A prenup? We've never discussed this." "Well, I'm discussing it now. My friend Gwendolyn just got divorced and lost everything." "I won't be stupid like her." "Okay, what kind of terms are we talking about?" "Simple. What's mine stays mine. What's yours becomes ours." I actually laughed. "That's not how prenups work." "It is. If you love me, unless you're planning to divorce me." Red flag number 1, but I was still in problem-solving mode. "Send me what you want. I'll have my lawyer look at it." "Your lawyer? You don't trust me?" "It's a legal document." "Of course I'm having a lawyer review it." She hung up. 20 minutes later, I got an email with a prenup attachment. The subject line, "Sign this or we're done." The document was something else. In case of divorce, she gets the house that I'm buying. She gets 70% of all assets acquired during marriage. I pay alimony for 10 years minimum. She keeps all gifts, including engagement ring. I waive rights to any of her future inheritances or assets. That last line seemed weirdly specific. I forwarded it to my lawyer buddy Glenn. His response, "This is insane. Also, possibly unenforceable, but that inheritance line is suspicious. Let me dig around." Told Rebecca I was reviewing it. She seemed satisfied, even smug. Good. Gwendolyn's lawyer drew it up. She's brilliant. 2 days later, Glenn called me. "Bro, you sitting down? Why?" "Rebecca's grandmother died 8 months ago." "No, she didn't. We had dinner with her last month." "Her other grandmother, father, from Germany. She told me her dad's family disowned him. They did until grandma died and left everything to her grandkids." Rebecca inherited approximately $1.3 million. My phone nearly slipped out of my hand. She's had $1.3 million for 8 months, converted and sitting in an account under her maiden name. She never legally changed her name on some documents. Easy to hide. I'd been paying for everything. Everything. Our apartment, groceries, her car payments, the wedding. She always claimed her marketing job barely covered her personal expenses. There's more. Glenn said she incorporated an LLC last month, bought 2 rental properties in cash. I hung up and sat in my car for an hour just processing. 4 years. We talked about kids, about our future, about saving for a house. Meanwhile, she was sitting on a fortune and watching me stress about money. That night I acted normal. She was wedding planning on her laptop, chatting about centerpieces. "Did you review the prenup?" she asked casually. "Still reviewing." "Glenn's thorough. Don't take too long." "Gwendolyn says delays mean you're planning something. Planning to understand what I'm signing." "Yeah." She rolled her eyes. "It's standard stuff." "Standard, right?" Update 1, Glenn helped me draft a counter prenup. If she wanted to play games, we'd play by real rules. My terms: full financial disclosure required from both parties. All hidden assets discovered after signing are forfeited to the other party. 50-50 split of marital assets. No alimony for either party. Separate property remains separate. The kicker: both parties attest. They have fully disclosed all assets over $10,000. I presented it over dinner at her favorite restaurant. "This is insulting," she said, barely looking at it. "How? It's completely fair. We both keep what we brought in, split what we build together. The disclosure thing is invasive. It's standard. Unless you're hiding something." She went pale. "How dare you accuse me?" "I'm not accusing. I'm asking for transparency. You want a prenup? This is mine. This is Gwendolyn's friend poisoning you against me. Glenn. His name is Glenn, and he's protecting my interests, like Gwendolyn is protecting yours." She threw her napkin down. "Sign mine or the wedding's off." Okay, you'll sign. Okay, the wedding's off." I stood up, left cash for the bill, and walked out. She sat there shocked as I drove away. My phone exploded. Texts, calls, voicemails, a sampling. You just walked out. This is not how adults handle conflict. Come back right now. You're being manipulated. I'm calling my dad. Ah, yes, Herbert. Her father, who supposedly came from nothing but somehow paid for her Harvard MBA. Things were starting to make sense. Sure enough, Herbert called an hour later. Son, Rebecca's upset. What's this about a prenup? She wants one. I offered fair terms. She refused. Her terms are fair. A woman needs protection. From what? My teacher's salary. Don't be dramatic. Sign the papers and move forward. Did you know about her inheritance? Silence. What inheritance? The one from your mother. $1.3 million. Longer. Silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Interesting because the German probate documents are public record. He hung up. Rebecca showed up at my apartment at midnight, mascara running. How could you embarrass me like that? Embarrass you? You've been lying to me for 8 months. I don't know what you mean. 1.3 million, Rebecca. She froze. Who told you that? Does it matter? You inherited a fortune and kept it secret while I paid for everything. It's my inheritance, my privacy. Then why did your prenup specifically mention protecting future inheritances? That's different. How? I was protecting myself from your broke teacher fiancé. She switched tactics trying to hug me. Baby, this is a misunderstanding. The money is for our future. Then why hide it? I wasn't hiding it. I was waiting for the right time. The right time being after I signed away my rights to it. She stepped back, eyes hard. You were never supposed to find out. There it was. The truth. Get out. You can't kick me out. I live here. No, you don't. You're not on the lease. You just get mail here sometimes. I'll tell everyone you're a gold digger. With what gold? You're the millionaire, remember? She stormed out, slamming the door so hard my neighbor texted asking if I was okay. Update 2. Next morning, woke up to find she'd told everyone her version. I was demanding her family money and threw a tantrum when she tried to protect herself with a prenup. My phone was full of messages from mutual friends calling me gross and opportunistic. Her bridesmaid army was in full force. Then I did something petty. I posted the original prenup she sent me. Just screenshot it with the caption, "The fair prenup I was asked to sign." Note, I'm a teacher making $52K a year. The tide turned immediately. Wait, she wanted 70% of your assets. 10 years of alimony for what? This is insane, Rebecca called, screaming. Take that down. That's a private document. You made it public when you lied about me. I'll sue you for defamation. Truth is a defense against defamation. She hung up and immediately posted that I was financially abusive and controlling. Girl really thought she could gaslight the entire internet. But then Wendelin entered the chat, the friend whose divorce started all this. She commented, Rebecca, I never told you to do this. I said to protect yourself, not to rob someone. This prenup isn't what I suggested at all. Rebecca deleted the post, but screenshots were already circulating. That afternoon, her mom Eleanor called. You're destroying my daughter over money. Your daughter tried to trap me into a financial suicide pact while hiding her wealth. She doesn't have wealth. We're middle class. Eleanor, she inherited $1.3 million. She bought 2 rental properties in cash. That's impossible. We would know. Ask her about the LLC, Becker Holdings, registered last month. Eleanor hung up. An hour later, I heard from my friend, who worked at the same coffee shop Eleanor frequented. Apparently, Eleanor came in looking like she'd seen a ghost and was overheard on the phone saying, You told me Mom left everything to charity. The plot thickened. Update 3. Herbert called again that evening. Different tone this time. You need to keep quiet about the inheritance. Why? It's family business. It became my business when Rebecca tried to hide it while taking my money. She wasn't taking anything. You offered to pay for things because she said she was broke. She never said that. I have texts of her saying she can't afford groceries. Silence. How much do you want? Excuse me, to go away. Sign an NDA. Break up quietly. You're trying to buy me off. 25,000, not 50. Herbert, I don't want money. I wanted honesty from the woman I was going to marry. 100,000. Final offer. Why are you so desperate to keep this quiet? Click. He hung up. Glenn called me an hour later, laughing. Dude, you're not going to believe this. Remember how Rebecca's inheritance was $1.3 million? Yeah, that was just the first payment. The estate is still being settled. She's due another $2 million next year. What? But here's the beautiful part. The will has a morality clause. If she's found guilty of fraud or deception in legal proceedings, she forfeits the rest. Everything clicked. The panic, the NDA offer, Herbert's desperation. So, if I sue her for fraud, she loses $2 million. I didn't want to sue anyone. I just wanted out, but they didn't know that. Texted Rebecca. We need to talk. Bring your parents. Met them at a neutral location, a private room at a local restaurant. They showed up looking defensive. Rebecca wouldn't make eye contact. Here's what's going to happen. I said, we're calling off the wedding. You're going to tell everyone it was mutual. No drama, no social media posts, no lies about me or what? Urich challenged, or I file a fraud suit. Your daughter lied about her financial status to extract money from me over 8 months. I have documentation, Eleanor gasped. You wouldn't. I have texts of her claiming poverty. Bank records showing my payments. The prenup proving she knew about the inheritance. Pretty sure that qualifies as fraud. Rebecca finally looked up, tears in her eyes. You're going to take my inheritance. No, I'm going to walk away, but only if you let me. Herbert tried negotiating. She'll return what you spent. I don't want the money. I want a clean break and my reputation intact. They agreed immediately. Too quickly. Honestly, made me wonder what else they were hiding. Update 4. We announced the wedding was off due to different life goals. Mutual friends were confused, but accepted it. I started moving on. Then Wendelin reached out. Coffee? I have information you need. Met her downtown. She looked uncomfortable. I didn't know about the inheritance when I helped with the prenup. She started. I found out after you posted it. Okay, Rebecca's been doing this before. What? Her ex Terrence, the one she said was abusive. He wasn't. She did the same thing. Hid money, claimed poverty, made him pay for everything. He found out when her dad accidentally mentioned their investment property at dinner. Why didn't anyone know? He signed an NDA for $50,000. Cheaper than lawyers. He said she's done this before. There's more. The grandmother's will. It wasn't just to Rebecca. It was split between all grandkids, but the others don't know she's dead. What? Rebecca and Herbert have been collecting the others' portions, telling them grandma's still alive, but too sick for visitors. My jaw dropped. That's fraud? Actual federal fraud, I know. I'm struggling with whether to report it. Her cousins don't know their grandmother died. They live in Germany. Haven't been to the US in years. This was insane. I went home and did some digging. Found the obituary online in German, which is probably why no one here noticed. Reached out to one of the cousins through social media, just asking how his grandmother was doing. His response, she's hanging in there. Very sick but fighting. Well, why do you ask? I sent him the obituary link. An hour later, he video called me. Absolutely livid. His siblings were there too. All shouting in German and English. She died 8 months ago. We've been sending cards. Herbert said she was in hospice. Where is our money? I gave them Glenn's contact info. Told them everything I knew. The next day, Rebecca called, sobbing. You contacted my cousins. You ruined everything. You stole their inheritance. It was temporary. We were going to tell them when. When the time was right after you spent it all. You're vindictive. This is revenge. No. Revenge would have been suing you immediately. This is just truth catching up. She screamed something about destroying her life and hung up. Final update. The cousin suit international fraud case. FBI got involved because of the wire transfers from Germany. Turns out Herbert had created fake email accounts pretending to be the grandmother, sending birthday wishes and updates to keep the cousins from getting suspicious. Rebecca tried to pin everything on her father, but the paper trail led back to her LLC. She was the one who created the accounts, deposited the checks, bought the properties. Glenn kept me updated on the legal proceedings. Rebecca was ordered to return $800,000 plus interest. The second inheritance payment canceled due to the fraud clause. Herbert was charged with wire fraud and identity theft. Eleanor divorced Herbert when she found out he'd been lying to her too. Apparently, she really did think the inheritance went to charity. She'd been living modestly while her husband and daughter sat on millions. The rental properties had to be sold to pay back the cousins. Rebecca's accounts were frozen during the investigation. Last week, I ran into her at a grocery store. She was using coupons. Not joking. Actual paper coupons. She saw me and tried to leave, but we were both in the checkout line. This is your fault, she hissed. No, this is consequence. I loved you. You loved my willingness to pay for everything. I was going to share the money eventually. When after the divorce, you were clearly planning for. The cashier was trying not to listen, but failing. Rebecca's card got declined. She had to put back half her groceries. I didn't offer to pay. As she left, she turned back. Terrence was easier to fool. That's probably the most honest thing you've ever said to me. It's been 3 months. The wedding venue gave me a full refund after I explained the situation. The manager is going through a divorce and was very sympathetic. Used that money for a solo trip to Japan. Always wanted to go. Glenn says the criminal case is moving forward. Rebecca's looking at possible jail time for the fraud. Herbert already took a plea deal. 2 years probation and massive fines. Elena reached out last week to apologize. Said she should have seen the signs. Apparently, Rebecca had done similar things in college, taking money from boyfriends claiming poverty while her parents paid her tuition. Eleanor thought she'd grown out of it. The German cousins sent me a thank you card with a chocolate assortment. Note said, for helping us honor our grandmother's real wishes. They got their money back, plus damages. Gwendolyn and I actually became friends through this. She felt terrible about her unwitting role. We get coffee sometimes and laugh about the absurdity of it all. She's dating Glenn now, which is hilarious. Found out through the grapevine that Rebecca's working at a call center now. Her assets are still frozen, and no one in her industry will hire her with fraud charges pending. She moved back in with Eleanor. Someone asked if I regret not taking Herbert's $100K offer. Nope. Watching their house of cards collapse was worth way more than that. To anyone facing a surprise prenup, run. If they spring legal documents on you with ultimatums, they're planning something. And if they claim poverty while demanding your assets, they're definitely hiding something. Oh, and always have a lawyer friend. Glenn's getting a really nice wedding gift when he and Gwendolyn get married next year. Yeah, they're moving fast. But when you bond over exposing international fraud together, you know it's real. Peace out. I'm teaching summer school for extra cash, living my simple life, and definitely running financial background checks on any future partners. Trust but verify, folks. Edit to the person who DM'd asking if this is real. The federal case numbers are public record, not posting them for obvious reasons. But yeah, this happened. Edit 2. Rebecca made a TikTok about surviving a narcissistic ex. Comments are all asking why she's facing fraud charges if she's the victim. She deleted it after an hour. Edit 3. One of the German cousins is a baker and offered to make my wedding cake if I ever get married again. Might take him up on that someday.